This question is about the best ME lower lifts. Basically, I think 99% of what we do boils down to 4 things. We either do a max effort box squat, we'll vary it with bands, chains, reverse bands, or whatever, but it's pretty much always a box squat. We'll do deficit deadlifts, we'll deadlift with the weights on boxes, which is similar to a rack pull, or we'll do a chain suspended good morning. Now we'll always do variations of those with like bands or chains and those things, but it basically boils down to those 4 movements of the main ME lifts that we do.
Alright, the question's about how long max effort bench setup takes. It really depends on the person. One thing you have to remember is that at a meet you only have a minute from when they say bar is loaded to when you have to start the lift. So obviously it has to take less than a minute. My setup, even in a shirt, bra, whatever, is really like 15 seconds once I actually sit on the bench. Make sure I get my shoulders tucked back, my traps dug into the bench, get my arch going, get my leg drive going, and it's ready, set, go. Alright, this is a question about what belts we wear and why, basically. These are the 3 basic types of belts you're going to see. This is Marcus's. It's a 13mm single prong. He wears this because he's a multiply lifter. Single prong is easier to adjust. 13mm is the thickest allowed, gives you the most support. There are 10mm belts available. I really wouldn't recommend them. They're not generally worth it. You want to get the maximum support you can no matter what. Single prong is easy to adjust for a multiply lifter. Double prong, this is actually my belt.
Really?
It's a double prong 13mm. I actually don't recommend this. It's kind of a pain. It takes a lot more effort to adjust. It's supposed to have a little more, durability, but I haven't seen a single prong belt break ever. I just bought it because I didn't know any better, and they last forever, so I'll keep it. And then a lever belt. Lever belts are great. They're very easy to use. They're quick to release. That helps a lot when you're doing a max effort lift. And the second the lift's over, you want to get your belt off because holy crap, it hurts. They are a pain in the ass to adjust. To adjust them, you have to unscrew these and move them. And you need a screwdriver or a quarter or a penny or whatever, but it can be a pain, especially if your squat gear, your bench gear, and your deadlift gear all require different settings. A lot of people who use lever belts will have 2 of them, one set for squat, one set for deadlift or bench, and it's just easier that way. Questions about high bar good mornings. We actually don't like high bar good mornings. They hurt, they're a little more dangerous, and you have to be very much more careful with how much weight you use. Instead, we tend to do safety squat mornings. It has the same effect of having the weight high up on your back, rounding you forward a little more. The camber actually throws the weight in front of you, but safety squat bar is a little easier to use, a little safer to use. It's not going to put so much direct pressure on your neck. And for high bar or safety squat in the morning, if it's not chain suspended, because chain suspended I'll do it with a wide stance, arch back, that kind of stuff. I will do more of a straight leg, traditional good morning, where you keep your back either neutral or maybe even a little rounded. Go down and then throw it back up. It's an exercise I'll throw in maybe once a training cycle. It's more of, in my mind, more of a rehab type thing than a strength builder. But it can be a good variant to throw in if you want to mix it up a little bit.
This question's for a raw bencher. How often should you cycle just your regular competition bench as an ME movement? I would cycle it every 6 to 8 weeks because you don't want to max on it too often. You want to give yourself some time to make some progress so that way you can make sure you set some good PRs each time.
Questions about accessories for overhead presses. Whether you're doing strict push press, push jerk, power jerk, whatever, you still need to kind of work on the same stuff. Mainly, you just need to do more overhead pressing. It's a very specific lift, and you need to just practice it a lot to get good at it. For accessories, though, you can do kind of similar to a working your bench press. Reduce the range of motion. We do overhead rack lockouts for our bench, but it also works for overhead press. You just put the pins so the bar is just above your head and just lock it out in that range of motion. That's kind of like doing a 3 or a 4 board on bench. You can also do a lot of tricep work and a lot of shoulder work, but you want to do it all in a vertical plane so it closely mimics it. So use dumbbells, do shoulder press, do tricep stuff overhead, French press, that kind of stuff. And then you just, like I said, you just want to keep working your overhead press and switch it up. If you're going for a strict press PR, do some push press, do some jerks. Get used to putting heavier and heavier weight over your head so that when you go to do a strict press, you're not freaking out about it. There's a lot of a mental aspect to it. And then when you're actually doing the lift, make sure you get your head through under the bar so you're pressing in a straight line. It'll make it a lot easier to lock out.
This question's about benching and missing right around the chest. I think there's, I'll break it down into 3 big reasons. One is a lot of people when they come down, they lose their tightness. And once you get loose, you're going to have a hard time driving. You're going to barely move it off your chest. The other one is not using enough leg drive. Honestly, if you get it to your chest and if you use your leg drive right, you should be able to get the bar a few inches off your chest just with your leg drive. And if you can't, then you're just not getting any leg drive. And then the third reason would be your lats just aren't strong enough, because the key when you're benching, when you bring it down, you want your lats really, really tight. When you load them, it's almost like you're loading a spring. And when you go to press, you want to squeeze your lats, and that's going to be your initial go. So if you're not getting that initial go, then you need to get more lat strength. So I think between the 3 of those, it'll get you a lot more power off your chest. This question is about squat accessories and what to do if you're weak, a little bit out of the hole. I think that's a common thing where most people are weak. It's actually pretty rare to see someone get completely buried and not even move out of the hole at all. Down in that area, it's a lot of glute and a lot of hamstring. One of the more effective things you can do is the sumo stiff-legged deadlift, which I'll demonstrate here. You want to get as wide as you can. And then you want to get your chest up as much as you can, and the key is you want the bar going against your legs the entire lift. And I would do those for sets of like 8 as an accessory after you squat, and they'll really build a lot of hamstring and hip strength. And then anything that works your hamstrings and hips is going to help you. Because the reason why a lot of people miss just out of the hole, if you look at it from the side, they'll get down okay, but then they'll go like this. And yeah, you get your hips up, but the problem is the bar doesn't really move, and now you're leaning forward and you're going to have to good morning the weight. So the key is you want your hips and your hamstrings to be strong enough that your first move is up like this. So that way you're staying under the bar, because you want to be able to keep your hips under the bar at all times. Questions about structuring a deload. I think that's kind of changed and evolved a little bit for me. It used to be what I would do being a geared lifter is I would just take a week and lift raw. No gear, no bands, no chains, nothing. And then what raw lifters do is they kind of, you don't do any max effort work, you do more sets of like 8 to 10. Now what I do, because I feel like I need even a little bit more of a deload, is I mostly take off max effort days. I don't do any barbell movements on those days, and I do some moderate accessory work, because the key is you're doing a deload to get yourself healthier. And the research shows that after 3 weeks you don't get faster and you don't get stronger anymore. So why beat yourself up that 4th week when you know it's not going to do anything for you? You need to focus on recovery, keep things light, keep the reps higher, and work more on blood flow. I usually do a lot of extra mobility work and flexibility work, because the key is you want to get healthy. So when you come back the next week to heavy weights, you're going to start breaking some PRs.